Well, I'm going to get things started here, I think, because
I think we're good.
those of us who are on time are eager to get going. It's really great to see so many of you here. I see some new families. I see a lot of familiar faces, and it's just been a really long time since we've even been together on Zoom. So it's a real pleasure to welcome all of you. This event is called Montessori Across the Ages, and we usually do this in the fall. It's a way for parents to see what is the Montessori curriculum from toddler through middle school. So in a typical year, we would have classrooms full of children from different levels showing a strand of our curriculum. It might be calculation, it might be global citizenship, it might be writing. And they get to see each other's work, and parents and families get to see the work of toddlers and Children's House and so on. And it's a rite of passage for our kindergartners and elders and seniors, because the oldest kids in each of the levels gets to present the work. This year, however, that is a little more challenging to do, of course. So we've chosen to take a different tack, and that is we are showing you what it's been like to have classes outdoors. And while there won't be a strand of the curriculum, what you will see is you'll see a variety of ways that teachers and students have used the outdoors this year. We'll start with toddlers and we'll end with middle schoolers. And I think you'll see a cumulative, intentional, and connected curriculum when it's all finished. And we'll look forward to all being together in the fall when we can do this live and the kids can actually be in the classrooms showing you their work. So the video we're going to show you, which teachers have taken videos of the kids and photographs of the kids doing their work outside. The video is about 20 minutes. And then we get to the second half of Montessori Across the Ages, which is to show you some of our alums. So it goes even beyond the school walls and into the high school, college, and even professional world of LMS alums. Now, this is the 15th year we've done Montessori Across the Ages, and I just want you to know that we have never used the same set of alumni, or even one alum has not yet returned for a second go round. So these are folks who are doing this for the first time, and they're answering questions that you have submitted that you're interested in knowing how things are after LMS. So the video is about 20 minutes, and then we'll spend the second part of the evening until 9 o'clock with our alums. And so I hope you enjoy the evening. Let her roll.
The past year has been filled with many challenges, but has presented important opportunities for all of the students at LMS. One of these was the unexpected gift of spending more time outdoors, allowing us to explore the LMS campus and surrounding outdoor areas in greater depth and detail than ever before. This year, LMS toddler teachers transformed the spaces outside of the classroom into engaging, purposeful outdoor environments. They helped our youngest students as they developed their gross motor muscles and their fine motor control. The outdoor environments have attractive, adaptive activities that mirror the work they also do indoors. In the following clips, you'll see toddlers working on these activities. Children's House teachers also have expanded the environment to include the outdoors. Children use the open spaces on our campus for work that they often do indoors. Here, kindergartners have set up outdoor workspaces for a lesson on the human body and how their organs work together as a team to make a strong and healthy person. Teachers use stories, hands-on learning materials, songs, and movement. The prepared outdoor environment enables children to work independently and collaboratively as they move about. Here's another group of children actively engaged in the outdoor environment. They had a lesson using Montessori color tablets, and they went outdoors to extend the learning by examining gradations of color. They enjoyed finding just the right bit of dirt or blade of grass to match the color tablet they chose. They worked together to tackle the challenge. These children are carrying the materials needed to explore weights as part of their math learning. They collect natural items like rocks, twigs, sand, and wood chips. Then they guess which objects weigh more, and they test their hypotheses with a scale. Of course, they help their teachers clean up afterwards.
And what's this called, friend?
A scale.
Scale, right?
It weighs things.
It does. We use it to weigh things. And how else do we measure things?
Measure it by
Length. Heavy.
We use it for ingredients.
Yep, you measure ingredients and heights, right? Raise your hand if you think Merritt's weighs more. All right, and who thinks Amanda's weighs more? All right, so let's put it in the scale. Amanda and Merritt, put it in. Gentle. Oh, whose weighs more? Amanda's.
Here, children are on a nature walk. They are tasked with finding small sticks they will later cut to the same length. Once back in their outdoor classroom space, teachers introduce a work extension to the long chains from the Montessori bead cabinet. This material shows the multiples of a number, in this case 5, up to the third power of the number. The children cut the sticks they found on their walk to similar sizes and then extend the work outdoors by building a chain made of sets of 5 twigs, each arranged in a traditional tallying form. They methodically set up 5s and they label each with a stone that has the running total painted on it. At LMS, students of all ages gather in community to talk about issues and events in the classroom. They learn to participate, to listen, contribute, and to find win-win answers to problems. These lower elementary students hold their community meeting in their outdoor classroom in the woods. But the protocol is the same as always, with the elders running the meeting. The group agrees on the topic of discussion, shares feelings about it, brainstorms solutions, finds agreements, and celebrates their work together.
To use sticks peacefully and use them creatively. Thank you for using your voice to share thoughts, and thank you for listening and respecting each other. This meeting is adjourned.
During the fall, lower elementary students spent time exploring and playing in LMS's 19 acres. They climbed trees, they created hobby horses, they learned to write and paint with natural materials like their prehistoric ancestors. LE teachers guided the learning by connecting outdoor discoveries to topics in the LMS curriculum. They helped students learn to pay close attention as they observed nature. Here, the students are hunting for leaves that match the image on the papers they're holding. They use eye loops to magnify the details of leaves. These students stand on a hill holding labels as they simulate parts of a mountain. Students have selected a natural object that interested them, such as this bud on a shrub. They are recording observations in various ways. What do I notice? Writing to observe like a scientist. What does it remind me of? Finding metaphors for writers. And what do I wonder? Writing to stimulate thinking. Here, a student reflects on a tree that in the fall he named the blender tree. He explains, that's because if you stand right below it and look straight up, the branches remind me of the blades in a blender. The connections we make in nature, especially through journaling, gives spark to the curriculum and deepens learning. Elders find mosses and other bryophytes, and they get new appreciation for the ferns on the timeline of life. Just as students learn to respect each other's interpretations of literature, they also appreciate diversity of thought in nature. These lower elementary students are using the design engineering process to create a shelter to protect an animal the size of a soccer ball. The elders facilitate the brainstorming to ensure that everyone's voice is heard. Then the students collaborate to make a plan. They collect natural materials like sticks, rocks, and leaves, and then they build a prototype. Throughout the process, the elders encourage the group and watch for inclusive participation. The final step is the testing. Here, they check to see if the shelter is large enough to fit a soccer ball-sized animal. The teachers observe, advise, and support, and then they help students reflect on their work.
A soccer ball sized animal. And so this is just like the passport photo.
So do you think this is a finished product or a work in progress?
Definitely a work in progress.
So you're still going to work on that improved part of the process to keep it going? Do you think that this is finished, or do you still see improvements, changes, or things that you can continue?
The students in upper elementary began the year using nature journaling to observe the environment closely. They repeatedly visited landmarks like the upper field, the LMS food forest, Beaver Brook, tree canopies, and the wetlands, exploring types of leaves, evidence of animal life, and discovering the interdependence of all living things in these places. Along the way, students recorded observations in journals. They wrote stories, made graphs, and drew maps. they began to develop new journaling ideas, and they created lesson plans to share across the 4 UE pods. These included nature mandalas, where natural objects were sorted by color gradation and used to create beautifully intricate designs; nature's crayons, where the natural pigments of leaves, bark, and stones were used to draw lovely illustrations; and nature's instruments, where natural and found objects were used to create music together. As their comfort with the land increased, new projects and explorations took shape. One group used iPods to capture images of changing landscapes, and they created video profiles of special places.
We just take pictures, see any differences we saw. Like, for example, for the first climbing tree, I saw, like, last week there was no grass, and this week there's grass there. So that's a sign of spring. And my prediction of what it's going to be like next week is that there's going to be bees, maybe some flowers. Yeah. And it's a really good way to notice all the little details and changes that have been made that we just don't realize when they're out and about, like I am now.
UE students expanded their geographic range, hiking beyond the LMS campus across Concord Avenue onto the Western Greenway trails, where they discovered water towers, historic cemeteries, boardwalks, and frozen ponds. Middle school students started the year learning about building. They designed and created structures to enhance the outdoor classroom spaces of the younger students. They learned how to use tools and work together as a team. And they also taught some of the younger kids who were interested in their work about what they were doing. In the next clips, you'll see middle schoolers interviewing lower elementary teachers about their design for their outdoor classrooms. Here, middle school students are working together to place leaf packs in the Beaver Brook stream so that they can collect data and learn about the macroinvertebrates that live there. Now you hear part of a daily afternoon meeting.
Are there any reminders or short announcements? List them. Do your homework, and also there's a plan for that exercise for everybody tomorrow, so be prepared. Are there any other announcements? There's Halloween.
Kim, I wonder if the task force that's going to work on Halloween would like to get together at some point and make a plan to do that, because...
Middle schoolers also participated in other leadership around the land. They put up and took down the tarp from the A-frame. The 7th graders put up the tarp this year. They also did science experiments looking for glucose and starch in various garden and forest plants as they learned about photosynthesis and respiration. Sometimes they simply did their thinking outdoors. The weekly Socratic seminar took place throughout the fall in the A-frame, where students dissected difficult texts and talked with each other to dig into a deeper meaning. In the next clip, students are listening to the news the day after the presidential election.
They also think that Georgia is a toss-up. They're waiting on the votes from Atlanta and figure that those will favor the first vice president. They have also looked at North Carolina and Georgia Carolina is actually tipping to President Trump. The president's campaign has put out a statement saying that they are prepared to ask for a recount.
Middle schoolers developed fire building skills. They learned about the fire triangle, how all fires need fuel, heat, and oxygen to burn. They practiced igniting natural tinder that they found in the woods using flint and steel, a magnifying glass, and matches.
Why do you think it's important for scientists to think about patterns in the world? What else?
To kind of figure out maybe why that thing is happening. Because if like a certain bird always like makes noise in like the same pattern, like this and then this and then this, it could probably mean something. It's not like this isn't random.
Yeah.
So like pattern will help help you understand like what are they trying to say or what are they trying to do.
Helps to understand more about the world. Sure.
Students learn to use a topographic map and a compass to navigate in the woods. They practice compass skills for weeks in the winter before going off campus on an orienteering challenge during which they spent the day at the unfamiliar Western Greenway. They had a topographic map, a compass, a water bottle, a small group of peers, and their own knowledge to get around in the woods. And they had to work together as a team to find 7 targets throughout the woods. Here are their reflections.
Yeah, I think it was a good experience for us to kind of try to find different places and kind of using our compasses and our navigation skills that Kim taught us. And so I think it was really good and it was enjoyable.
Yeah, and also, like Calista said, it was like at first we had a rocky start. That was also, a learning experience, I guess you could say, because we figured out where we were, we got together as a team, and then we found our way. So we kind of figured out like where we went wrong and like how we could do better, like moving forward. We put together and we like made our way, and we like used communication, we were clear, and we helped other groups a little bit when they were lost. We worked as a team and we were very like independent, I feel like, and when we put all that together, it really came out in the final product, which was a really great. We actually found everything, even though it was really tiring. We were like really sweaty in the end, but it was definitely a really good experience for all of us. I think I definitely learned a lot about you guys, and yeah, it was really fun.
Our use of the outdoor classroom space has, like nature itself, evolved over time and allowed us to recommit to the LMS mission of self-discovery through purposeful learning. And as the crisis of the moment fades, we look forward to building on these newfound discoveries and place-based understandings as we continue our Montessori journey of cosmic education well into the future.
Biff, you're on mute. Biff, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry. So as you can see, the LMS community spent a lot of time outdoors this year, and going out and spreading out enabled us to stay on campus all year. But along the way, kids and teachers found out so many opportunities for learning and for joy outside. So clearly our 19 acres are going to continue to make us happy and productive as we move on from now. And research shows that being in nature improves health and well-being. Here are 3 findings. Outdoor learning, including unstructured nature play, and especially for extended periods of time, builds skills in social interaction, problem solving, negotiation. It builds independence, confidence, and creativity. Number 2, time spent in nature decreases stress, it replenishes focus, it improves attention, motivation, concentration, and working memory. It enables students to recover quickly from mentally challenging exercises. So the ingredients of executive functioning. And number 3, increased physical activity outdoors makes students resilient, and it reduces the risk of infectious and chronic disease. Outdoor sunlight exposure reduces the incidence of myopia. It makes it easier for us to get to bed early, to sleep longer, and to wake up refreshed. So how lucky we are. And now we are honored to have this group of alums here with us this evening. So let me give you a few words of introduction for each. Laura Pond. At one time, there were 3 Pond girls at Lexington Montessori School. Laura is the middle one. After LMS, Laura attended Dana Hall School and then Phillips Exeter Academy, and she earned her undergraduate degree in Latin and Greek from Swarthmore College. Laura worked for a bit at the Department of Justice in Washington, and then she earned her law degree from Columbia Law School. She now specializes in corporate taxation at a major Wall Street firm. Jessica Mulligan. Jessica graduated from LMS in 2004, and she went on to BB&N. She majored in politics at Princeton, concentrating on American politics. She did some work in global affairs and moved to Washington, D.C. And Jessica is now working at the U.S. House of Representatives, where she is legislative director for Representative Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts' 4th Congressional District. Josh Klee came to us in his senior year for UE and then middle school, graduating from LMS in 2018. He's now a junior at Pingree School, where he says he has immersed himself in the school and in the community. He showed his winning charm as a tour guide at Lexington, and he now hosts applicant families at Pingree as well. Josh tells me he's pushing himself academically, especially in STEM. And he also captains the cross-country team at Pingree and is an avid Frisbee player. And finally, Sasha Wintner graduated from Lexington Montessori School in 2018. She's currently a junior at Bedford Public High School. Throughout her time here at LMS and also in high school, Sasha has been a competitive gymnast. These days, most of her time goes into preparations for college, taking SATs, researching the various schools that she might want to apply to and that might be lucky enough to get her in the fall. So let me explain a little bit about how we are doing this. We've been collecting some questions from families, and I'm going to direct the questions to one alum. And then I do want to invite all of the others of you to raise your hand to add a different perspective. And you parents, if you have a new question that you didn't send in, please put it in the chat and we'll do what we can to incorporate it into the discussion. So
Biff, just start.
yeah.
Biff, just
Yeah.
to clarify, if you do have an additional question and you can put it in the chat directly to either Diane Decker or to myself, Amy Randall, we will be the ones moderating those questions and letting you know if that question will be answered already with what's prepared. Thank you.
Okay, great. So my first question is for you, Jessica. Actually, I'm going to ask all 4 of you to respond to this because it's the most general question, but I'd like you to see if you could describe some way in which you think that you carry your LMS Montessori experience with you these days.
Thanks, Beth. And thanks everyone for joining. It's really, it's great to see everyone and be back with the LMS community. I attended LMS through 6th grade. And it was, definitely a unique experience that I feel really lucky to have had. I think, a couple of things that I was just reacting to as I was watching the video. You see the kids really showing their curiosity and the teachers fostering that curiosity. And I think that I definitely carry that sort of with me today. In fact, the office that I now work in, our 4 core values are integrity, inclusive leadership, excellence, and curiosity. And that last one was definitely one that kind of was really nice to hear that that was something that was valued by my coworkers when I joined the office. I think, another thing is just the value of group work, and, being able to kind of have diplomatic discussions. In politics, they're not always so diplomatic, but I wish they were as diplomatic as we saw in the video. But I think that I do try to carry some of that, interpersonal problem solving with me today. And, I guess one last thing that I think just really exemplifies what LMS kids are is resourcefulness, and just kind of being comfortable with being uncomfortable and being able to figure things out. And I think that's a value that and skill that I learned at LMS that has served me well, throughout high school, college, and my early career. And so I think that is definitely one thing that I saw on the kids in the video that I identify with today.
Thanks, Jess. Laura, you got something to say about this? What do you carry with you?
I echo every single thing Jessica just said. And I'll add, I'll give you sort of 2 little vignettes from my time at LMS that I think will illustrate my point. Actually, one of them isn't from my time at LMS, but I literally carry LMS with me in that every so often I'll go home to my parents' house. They're still in Watertown, in the house I grew up in. And I'll, I'm coming off the airplane or from wherever it is that I'm coming, and I'll turn to go into our backyard, and there's Connie Evans or Joyce Knott, who are my 4th and 5th grade teachers, sitting in the backyard while my parents ply them with alcohol. So I see them often, and the fact that my response is to feel nothing but love and admiration for these people who really helped form me in my early education experience says something about LMS, right? Like in an LMS classroom, there's sort of a hierarchy, but there really isn't. Your teachers are just about as much as your peers as they are your classmates. And, but you do have like a modicum of respect. But when I went into the real world, I learned that I'm not as afraid of adults as people who had a different experience growing up as kids. So I think that my, surprise visits with my 4th and 5th grade teachers sort of illustrates that something special is going on at LMS in the way that it shapes children's relationships with adults that really sets them off in a good way for the future. My second story is one that I tell everyone. It's formed so much of how I live my life and how I make my decisions and how my career has looked. And that is when I was in 4th grade, I was terrible at math. And that's not what you want to hear from someone who is a corporate tax lawyer now, but it's the truth. I'm admitting it here. I've gotten a little bit better since then. But I was so bad at math that I went into 4th grade behind, and I was still doing 3rd grade math. And I assume the classrooms are still divided as they were 20 years ago when I was a student. But in order to do my 3rd grade math, I would have to take a walk of shame from the upper elementary classroom to the lower elementary classroom to do my math work. And Joyce Knott, with whom I'm still quite close, saw me doing this walk of shame. And she was like, Laura, just skip it. Move on to the next thing. You've been stuck way too long. Just skip it. And I was like, but but there's a box that I need to check. And she was like, just skip it. You're not good at it. Let it go, move on. And the ability to acknowledge one's failings is something that I think a lot of the people that I've met over the course of what I would say is, you know, I've surrounded myself with people who are quite high achievers. I went to Exeter, I went to Swarthmore, I went to Columbia Law School. There are people who haven't learned that lesson yet, and as a result, they flame out. I learned it 20 years ago. If I'm not good at something, I'm not necessarily going to skip it, but I'm going to acknowledge that it's not my strength, and I'm going to figure out what it takes to move on, and I'm going to get past that. And that is something that I've carried with me for my entire life. So thank you, LMS, for teaching me that sometimes it's all right to not be good at something.
What a great story. Sasha, what do you say to this one? What do you carry with you from LMS?
So I have two main things. One is kind of similar to what Laura said, is just relationships with adults and teachers, especially in high school, when if you need extra help, you have to take the initiative and email a teacher and say, hey, can I meet with you during my free block or after school? And I have friends that turn to me and are like, hey, Sasha, can you read this email? Let me know if it sounds good. And for me, it's just normal. You just email a teacher and ask for help. I mean, we did it in middle school when we were emailing, what would you call them, organizations to do for Puerto Rico. And we were the ones emailing them. So learning how to write emails and be comfortable communicating with adults is definitely something that I take with me as well. But also, especially in these COVID times when we were fully remote for pretty much half the year, I really had to rely on my organizational skills because I didn't have as structured of a day or as structured classes. So it was really up to me to take that initiative to say, okay, this is when I'm going to do my work. If I need help, I need to sign on to a Zoom. I can't just ask my teacher in class. So I think that those organizational skills that you learn in LE and UE, writing planners, and middle school, writing planners and making sure you're managing your time, I definitely take with me, especially in the pandemic and when it's a little more self-initiated.
Nice, thank you. Josh, you got some to add?
Yeah, I have to agree with both Laura and Sasha that you know, my relationship with teachers has also really helped me in high school. Like I've had very similar situations to Sasha where, you know, I'm used to just emailing teachers and asking them for help or asking them about something, and my friends are a little bit like, why would I email them? Like what, you know, like I've never done that before. But I will also want to say LMS is sort of, it's helped me both organize and also sort of figure out what I want to do by myself, and not sort of like have me go down this strict path, because I feel like LMS always gave me quite a lot of options, and like sort of going at my own pace has always been the best way for me. I've been a little bit different sometimes, a little bit maybe better at math or science, and a little bit worse at like languages or something, which is, I'd say, has helped me quite a bit in high school, sort of knowing what I'm good at, knowing what I want to do, and like knowing like how to proceed with that, and also how to motivate myself, because a lot of the time in LMS I felt like it was mainly my responsibility to do to sort of figure out what I had to do, what I needed to do for the next day, what kind of homework there was, or if there was any, what kind of work I had to do during a free period. And I feel like that's helped me a lot now, because now I can effectively organize my time, even if I might not have a lot, or, you know, choose what classes are right for me, and sort of push myself instead of having other people like my parents or my teachers push me. I feel like LMS has sort of helped me grow into a person that can motivate themselves, basically.
Great, thanks. That's nice. Jessica, back to you. Are there things differences that you note between your own school experiences and the people that you run into. I mean, I don't know how often you have conversations with people about their elementary school years, but I'm wondering whether you've ever had sort of conversations about formative differences.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I can't say I talk much about elementary school years right now, although I will say that I'm still, Laura, you mentioned Joyce Nett, still really good friends with her and her son and David Ottenheimer, who, you know, they're all very close friends still. They're all coming to my wedding, and you know, we see each other all the time. So I think that's a really special thing, some of those friendships. I don't think everyone is lucky to have. I think, you know, thinking back to kind of like my time after LMS, it was just, you know, definitely was a little awkward in middle school, as we all are. Definitely got a lot of, learned a lot of like weird outdoor skills at LMS. I remember kind of like being good at like the camping trip that we went on in our freshman year of high school, and with just, you know, all those little like outdoor tasks like tying knots and starting a fire. And then I think that kind of an obvious one is also just having a joy of learning, not being like driven by grades or being driven by just getting things done. That's just like such a unique LMS thing that not everyone I think has in high school and college. And then I guess just like more socially, and I'm kind of like, you know, hearing it here today, I think, you know, we all kind of share some values of inclusivity and celebrating diversity and being an ally to, you know, LGBTQ, Black and Brown communities. Those are things that were kind of instilled in us at a really early age that we have carried with us. Mm-hmm. Into, you know, into these pretty turbulent times. So yeah, I think just like definitely those close friendships and some of those early values are really important that I hang on to today.
That's great. I have a related question, sort of a follow-up, but I'll ask you, Laura, and then you guys can jump in. And anybody can jump in and answer this, but I'm curious about whether you meet other kids who went to Montessori schools, not LMS, but some other Montessori school, and whether you notice things that you feel like you have in common with other Montessori kids.
Yeah, I went to Swarthmore. Swarthmore is lousy with Montessori's kids. It's absolutely insane. I wasn't even the only LMS grad in my graduating class of 300 at Swarthmore. There was another one. We were in second grade together, Jonathan Miller. And the first person I met at Swarthmore was a Montessori kid. They're everywhere. I mean, anywhere where small, inclusive education and diversity is valued, you'll find a Montessori kid, is what I concluded from my experience at Swarthmore. And so, of course, I've run into them. I ran into them a bunch at SWAT. I actually work at my current firm with a bunch of Montessori kids as well as a bunch of Montessori parents, which is quite interesting. And what I've noticed, the thread that sort of binds us all is this sort of intellectual curiosity that is not in any way entangled with like an academic competitiveness or like a cutthroatedness. It's really just learning because you want to learn and for the sake of learning, and you want to, it's not even like a betterment of yourself. You just are curious about the way the world works and you want to learn more about it. And if you get an A, great. If you get an 800 on the SAT or whatever they're scoring it at on these days, great. But that's not the nature of why the student is doing what they're doing. I also found Montessori kids along the same vein to be more collaborative. When I went to law school was probably the most academically competitive environment that I had ever been in my entire life. And I actually found a group of kids, and I think it was like 3 of the 6 of us had gone to Montessori school. And I was like, you people are the only people I can stand in law school because you are actually like here for the right reasons, not to do whatever, check whatever box needs to be checked to get wherever it is you want to go. They were there because they wanted to learn the law and to be a lawyer.
Nice. Josh, how did you know what school you wanted to go to next after LMS?
So it definitely took me a while to figure out exactly what school. I knew I wanted something small and fairly tight knit like LMS was. Like I love the community at LMS, so I needed something where people would be. There'd be a lot of events just people being close and like knowing my teachers and not having a classes of 20 to 30 kids, sort of having small classes, getting to know my teachers and getting to know my peers well enough. I ended up choosing Pingree partially just because, like LMS, Pingree has a very beautiful campus, a very nice I always loved going outside at LMS, going out in the fields or in walks in the woods. I can still remember when we first got those new 19 acres of land. We went out there for the first time. Pingree has a very similar, it's right on right on a state park, and that's also that sort of, I don't know how to phrase this. I just loved being able to still have the chance to go outside, even though I was in Pingree is definitely a slightly more stressful academic environment for sure. But I liked also having that escape, that outsideness like LMS did, which I think also, actually, never mind. I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, let me take that a little bit. I mean, I'm curious, you and Sasha are closest to this, so I'm curious about what the transition was like for you moving from LMS to a non-Montessori environment, whether it was public or private. I'm curious about how the homework adjustment went, what the social adjustment was like. Was it tough to get used to sort of a perhaps more rigid type of scheduling? Did you feel academically prepared when you got there, that kind of thing?
I can start with this one. I ended up going to my public school in my town after LMS, and I never questioned it. I was just kind of what I was going to do, and I felt like I was totally ready for, a bigger environment, and totally prepared for all my academics. And if you think about it, when you're in 8th grade, you're not doing the same things that you're doing in 1st grade. In 1st grade, you're not doing the same things you're going to do in 2nd grade. Each year, you're ready for something new. You're ready for more homework, more responsibility. And so I just felt very prepared for the next step. I was excited. Going into high school was probably the most scariest day of my life. Look back, I remember trembling on the first day. And then after the first day, when I got home, I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I was terrified to meet new people. I had never been in a school with 800 kids, and that's small for a high school. But I just remember being in the class before lunch, and I met these 2 nice girls that I did some partner work with. And I was like, hey, can I follow you to lunch? I'm new. And they were just so nice and so welcoming. And I was very lucky to have the experience I had, but I think that it's also, you're so prepared for it, because I wasn't scared to go up to someone I didn't know and say, hey, can I just come with you and sit with you at lunch? Because I think you're really prepared to foster those new relationships, and academically, you're totally ready for learning new things. So,
anything to add to that, Josh?
Maybe a little bit. I'd say socially, it was a fairly easy transition. I was able to find people who had similar interests. There were a good amount of people at Pingree who sort of shared my interest, and also, shared the wanting to work together and then wanting to just, sort of be part of the community and enjoy being part of the community. I'd say academically, it was a little bit difficult. I did get placed in a couple difficult classes, slightly advanced classes when I got to Pingree, but I was able to get over it. Like, it was a little bump right at the start, but I was able to get over that pretty quickly and thrive, I think. Yeah.
So Laura and Jessica, do you remember anything about a transition that far back?
Yes, I remember the first day of 6th grade when I was at my new school. I forgot to do my homework because I was like, I've never had homework before. This is not a thing that I need to do. I learned real quick to do my homework and have never missed a day of homework since then until it ended 10 years ago. But, you know, like Joshua was saying, there's that little just sort of like flip at the beginning, and then you're just like smooth sailing. Like you're on autopilot. I know I have the coping skills. I know it needs to be done to learn and to grow, and you just make it happen. And homework is part of that, unfortunately.
Jessica, anything?
It's been a while, but I agree with Laura totally. It was definitely like a little blip and then you figure it out. I think I was enough of a nerd that was just so focused on school, didn't really like realize the craziness of being in a bigger school and having a bigger class. And I actually remember being really excited to have grades and homework for the first you know, couple of months, and then it got old. But it felt cool and grown up for a little while at least.
Nice.
Biff,
Yeah.
I have a question in the chat that's related here, and it would probably be directed to you, Sasha. Did you feel a difference in the faculty approach from when you were at LMS to when you got into public school? So I'm thinking maybe this is the relationship you have with your teachers and how they approached that relationship with you.
Yeah, so going into high school, I definitely didn't have teachers sitting down on a rug teaching me pegboard and stuff like that. But I definitely, especially in freshman year, everybody's coming into a new situation. Like whether you're going from the public middle school to the public high school, or if you're a military family. I live in Bedford and there's a base near us, so we have a lot of military families. There's always a transition, and so the teachers are very open and very good about, you know, doing partner work the first few weeks because they know it's a new situation. They know you're scared, you may not know people. And whether or not there was that, I don't know how to describe it, but that like friendship relationship with your teacher, the relationship was always great. And if you wanted it to be a friendship relationship with, which I do, I love my teachers. If you are reaching out and making that bond, which I think I have successfully done in all my years of high school so far, I think that they love to have students that reach out and who create that bond, and they definitely reciprocate that. So I've had a great experience with my teachers. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a secret that some people don't know, that, you know, if you have experience with relationships with teachers, you find out that teachers really want to have those. And somehow a lot of kids don't know that. You know, they think that it's us and them. So it's just kind of too bad. So we are just about at the end. I promised you guys that you would be done at 9 o'clock. We have only a couple of minutes left. So I want to give you a chance to give advice to, you've got an audience of parents here. And so what would you say to these parents of younger children about what you've learned about moving through Lexington Montessori School and beyond?
I guess I'll start. Parents, you're doing the right thing just by virtue of having your kids attend LMS. You're giving them terrific skills for the future, teaching them how to interact with adults in a cordial but respectful manner, teaching them how to love learning and how to foster that relationship that you have with academia, because it's a long one. So advice going forward is just sort of, the process works. I think at least 3 of the 4 of us, excluding myself, are evidence that there's some magic going on here that we can't fathom or purport to understand, but it works. and just let it happen.
Thank you.
I can kind of go next. I really like how she put the relationship with academia, because it doesn't just end after LMS. Like, you are going to continue learning, and if you love it, it makes it that much better. And if you're interested in it and you know how to guide yourself in ways that are interesting to you, it makes it that much better. And I think also, be there for your kids. Like, not every day is going to be the best day ever. And if your child comes home after school and they don't have this big grin ear to ear, just know that they probably will tomorrow. And that, at least for me, looking back on it, LMS has been one of the best, most influential experiences of my life, even if every single day I wasn't smiling ear to ear. But just looking back, I totally am, and I'm totally thankful, and just, I don't know where I would be without LMS. So.
Totally agree with Sasha and Laura. And I guess one thing I'll just add is keep those relationships and friendships strong. They're the great community that you'll build at LMS and your kids will build. So just stay in touch with people even after you leave.
Yeah, I want to agree with that too. And then also just how LMS has always encourages students to sort of direct themselves, let your kids sort of, because I'm sure after LMS they'll be motivated and strong individuals and students, that let them take the reins, let them choose what they want to do, and let them sort of build their own path, but always be there to support them along the way.
Well, you guys are an inspiration. I really, really appreciate your being here. It's fabulous to see you all. Thank you so much for taking time to come and talk with us.
Yes, and I'm just going to quickly turn things over to a current parent. She would like to say something. Judy, go ahead.
Right. I know we're at the 9 o'clock hour, and I know it's been a year that we will always remember. But we wanted to take this moment at Mata Biff just to acknowledge another reason that we will all forever remember this year, which is to say that it is, of course, the year of the wonderful honor bestowed upon you by the American Montessori Society as the living legacy. It's an unbelievable honor, Biff. And I think I can speak for the entire parent community when I say that we just really share that pride in you and in LMS. And I know the children unveiled, to your great surprise, a gorgeous mural for you. But we have a little something to share from the parent community as well. So if all went as planned, you might have a rectangular package there next to you. Is that right? And while you are quickly unwrapping that, I will just say that the Parent Engagement Committee invited parents and families to share a few words about you, Biff, words, sentences. Sometimes it came through in a story, but we took all those words from everybody. It was a resounding, collage. And we put them together in this word poem for you. So you can hold that up, but Diane can also share screen a close-up image of what Biff has. And you can see, parents and families, you can see all the words that you sent in to describe Biff. And it's inscribed on the occasion of your Living Legacy Award, Biff. And we just wanted to thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for everything you do and have done over these many years for the school and for our children. So from the parent community, Biff, thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. That's so sweet.
Sure. And because we're also really super practical, there's another little cube that you can open, Biff, and it has this same image, but on something that you can use every day. So please enjoy both with our respect and our love and our deep gratitude. And congratulations to you, Biff. Living legacy.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I'm speechless yet again. Thank you. Okay. I don't know whether I'm closing this out here as I open this rectangular box. There. Dun, dun, dun.
That ought to keep you going, Biff.
Yeah.
Biff doesn't even drink coffee. Biff
Yeah,
doesn't
right.
You can fill it with whatever you like, sir.
Chocolate.
Biff drinks a lot of coffee, Judy. A lot of coffee.
Thanks everyone for
Okay.
coming this evening. It's great
Thanks,
to see
everybody.
you all. Alumni, thank you for your time. It was
Thank you.
wonderful to hear from you, and see you all in the car line tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, alums. Thank you, Biff.
Thank you so much.